he has quite a unique driving style, actually. It's not that easy to get along with.
Max is probably a bit out of order in Brazil, in truth.
His level of sharp and direct is kind of it's a whole different level.
From the outside, not sure people fully appreciate and understand Max.
So many people have talked about the Red Bull second seat. You can give us the definitive answer of what it is like to be Max Verstappen's teammate. How do you describe it?
The first thing is, a lot of people say that car is built around him. He's kind of like the Michael Schumacher of Ferrari. He's created this team around him, but truthfully, the car is what it is. He is very quick. So what ends up happening is he has quite a unique driving style, actually. It's not that easy to get along with. Everyone has a driving style. I would say my driving style is a bit more on the smooth side. But I like a car that has a good front end, so quite sharp, quite direct. Max does too, but his level of sharp and direct is kind of it's a whole different level. It's eye-wateringly sharp. And to give people kind of maybe an explanation of what that might feel like, I don't know if you guys play computer games at all, but if you bump up the sensitivity completely to the max and you move that mouse and it's just darting across the screen everywhere, that's kind of how it feels. It becomes so sharp that it makes you a little bit tense. And so what ended up happening was, especially during my year, you start off being a little bit behind, but not by much. And then as the season goes on, Max wants this front end in the car. He wants his car to be sharper. And as it goes sharper and sharper, he goes quicker and quicker. And for you to catch up, you have to start taking a little bit more risk. You might be a couple tenths behind one session. I'll just try a little bit more. Okay, I've gone off. I've had a crash. So then you've got to restart. Then you've lost a little bit of confidence. It takes a little bit more time. That gap's growing a little bit. And then the next time you try and go out and, do another job, another spin or another whatever. And it just starts to snowball. And every time the car becomes sharper and sharper, you start to become more tense. And I think it's like any sport. If you start to not be in that flow state and you're having to really think about it, and every time you go into a corner, you don't know how it's going to react. You don't have that kind of, it's purely the confidence in the car.
Oh, yeah.
The flow. It doesn't work. It never works.
So were you enjoying being a Red Bull driver at this point?
Not at all, no. I was struggling, I think. I was struggling with the attention around it. Of course, I deleted all my socials and I got away from the social media side of things. I think Formula One in itself is a whole different topic about, the new generation and the new fan base that comes with it. It is very different, but it was quite toxic, truthfully. And
what do you mean by that?
Just your seat's under the spotlight. If I went anywhere, if I Twitter or on Instagram or whatever, the memes that come after you, the kind of it's a very Gen Z kind of style of mocking where you become almost a laughing joke, and it's the easy go-to.
Yeah.
Whenever something happens, it's always a quote of yours or a spin of yours or whatever it may be. So you get rid of it as much as you can, but Thursdays at a track, you can't. You have media day. And I think most sports might be similar to ours, but there's only 2 drivers in a team. So with marketing and with the media, you get assigned a lot of time with them. And so this, the questions you get, you're not performing. Who do you think who could replace you? Or, this driver's performing. What do you think about him? Or, why are you struggling? And all these kind of things. As much as you ignore it, you can't. You actually can't, because on a Thursday, you figure out what everyone's been saying.
Look, we all know the struggle of deciding what to eat, but what if I told you that Huel can make that decision easier? Their taster bundle has got 8 ready-to-drink bottles, including their black edition, which has got 35 grams of protein, 6 daily A to Z vitamins, 8 complete nutrition bars, 2 hot savoury pots, and a free Huel t-shirt. All you have to do is click the link in the description to unlock your offer now at huel.com/high-performance. Max Verstappen, does he ever show signs of cracking? I've not seen it, I don't think, from where I've been watching.
I think a little bit, perhaps, in his championship round 21, where the intensity, particularly after Silverstone, on track between Lewis and Max became so intense. I think Max had very strong feelings on that Silverstone accident. And of course, he'd been clear championship leader going into Silverstone. Him out of the race, and then more or less out of the race in Hungary when he got hit by Valtteri. Not intentional at all, but still got hit and pretty much hardly scored any points. So gone from easy championship leaders to now feeling a bit more pressure. And Mercedes managed to find quite a lot more pace out of their car towards the end of the season. So it's always easier for the hunter than the hunted. And Max was starting, I think, to just feel a little bit of pressure from the hunted. And hence that, he was, in reality, was probably lucky not to get a penalty from his driving in Brazil. The Abu Dhabi? No, it wasn't Abu Dhabi, sorry, the one before. Saudi, where they had a bit of a ding-dong. That was a little bit more, I think that was not clear, but Max was probably a bit out of order in Brazil in truth. So I think he's feeling it a bit, and indeed Checo, it's the usual thing when Checo if the teammate that they've been beating suddenly starts to get closer, it's not that suddenly the teammates got better, it's that the guy, it's the same with Fernando and Felipe Massa towards the end of 2010. Suddenly they get closer because the lead driver's feeling the pressure.
And what do you do with the lead driver in that position? So would you spend time with Max? Would you take it upon yourself to talk to him and see how he's doing? And
a little bit, but I think Max is his own man. He's incredibly mature and rounded and philosophical. I think from the outside, not sure people fully appreciate and understand Max, just like they didn't with Sebastian. First of all, there's this sort of demonisation that both of them have suffered at times, which I think is very unfair. And maybe that's also a little bit of the British media, if I'm honest. Sky have a huge influence around the world. Their viewing figures, or their viewing is truly international, but their coverage is quite nationalistic, dare I say, and that can have an influence. It's this thing that now with journalism, typically I'm not saying I don't want to include this, so don't take this personally, but
no offence.
But there is that trend to sort of either put people on a pedestal or knock them down.
It's black or white, heaven or hell. There's no nuance. So for people who, based on what they've seen, have an opinion of Max Verstappen that you wouldn't agree with, what would you like to tell those people that they might have wrong about Max?
I think that he's very intelligent. He's got an incredible ability to. If it almost feels as if he can drive the car automatically, he doesn't, of course, but he has so much. He can drive the car and has so much processing power left over that he can then think a lot about how he's driving the car, how he's looking after the tyres, what he might need to do on the settings, or if he's not sure, ask GP on the radio what he should be doing, but highlighting the problems. Reading the race, it still fascinates me. Fernando's another one that can do that seem to be able to read the race. But I haven't got all the stuff in front of them. How do they do that? I don't know. Some of that, I mean, I know you can see also the diamond vision, and they do that. It's amazing how the drivers can see the diamond vision, and look up and see.
So, while they're driving a Grand Prix, they're looking at the big screens that are up for the fans in the grandstands.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then seeing the splits and the times and what's going on. I mean...
And is that common, or is that a rare skill?
I think it's rare, and it's only the very top guys that can do it. Yeah.
I remember David Coulthard actually saying to me the difference between him and Michael Schumacher when they were racing was what he called spare capacity.
Yeah.
He said when he was at his full tilt in a Formula One car, that took everything out of him. Whereas Michael, Sebastian Vettel, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, the true greats, they have a bit left over, wouldn't you say?
They do. They have a huge amount left over. They have huge mental reserve left over. I won't name drivers, it would be unfair, but you can fairly easily see it if you watch a Formula One race and you know a bit about it. You can see the ones that haven't got much capacity left over. And they're the ones that typically also get in soils and accidents and tangles and so on and so forth, because they just got nothing left. They can drive a car and they can do a qualifying lap, but be gobsmacked if any of those guys could win a championship.
Can I ask how you feel Max internally dealt with what happened at the end of the 2021 season? Because it still feels to me like Red Bull are blamed for something that was totally not in your control. This was an FIA race director decision that I kind of reflects badly on Red Bull in an unfair way,
I think honestly Max is so, he has such a self-assured, so self-assured, and this is in a positive way, it's not in a negative way. There's arrogance and there's self-assured. And Max is he's not arrogant, but he is very self-assured and self-confident. And he's a deep thinker, but he doesn't let things like that, they don't really get to him. He's able to shut that off and just get on with his job and get on with his task and do what he loves doing, which is driving racing cars.
Did it get to you?
No, it didn't. I mean, I find it actually, I think it got to Mercedes, and instead of saying, okay, well, accepting it and moving on, it started to affect their psyche.